very much for joining me today. Please jump on, say hello. It's always great having people on here to chat with while I'm crafting. And if you would like to join along, you're welcome to do that. Okay, I'm going to get started fairly quickly today, and I'm going to flip my camera down. So just bear with me 1 second. There we go. So today I'm going to play with the new Party Banners dies. Now, I've had this sitting here for about a month or so, and I haven't had a chance to play with them yet. So today's the day we're going to do that. And what I'm going to do is make a card using these banners. I'm also going to be using the Charming Day suite, which we started working with last week. And let me just see if I can pull up the information I have on that, just in case you haven't seen that before. So this is the online exclusives. It starts in July, so only in a few days' time you'll be able to purchase this particular online exclusive suite collection. So it is called Charming Day, and it has these beautiful designer series papers, which we'll be using in our project today. And of course, it also has a stamp set and dies, some braid, which I will be using, but I have pulled it apart. I did that last week, and so I've still got bits there to use. So I thought we'll do that with our card today, and we'll also add the gems as well. So just remember that these will be available as of the beginning of July, so that's only in a few days' time. Okay, so let me just bring me back up again. So this is the product, another product. This is Party Banners dies. There are a lot of dies in this collection. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14 dies in this. So it's a really big bundle or big set of dies, and you've also got these sort of rings there to reinforce holes if you're wanting to make a banner, and cause the holes to put up into the corners, so if you're again wanting to make a banner with these. So let's get started. I am using one of the designer series papers from the Charming Day, and this is the one that I'm using. So I've just got a piece of this here. This is the reverse side. Whoops, let me just put those back where they should be. Bring up my chat again. Hello, Felicity. Yes, they are amazing, aren't they? So this is a designer series paper we'll be using in the Night of Navy, and that's the reverse side. Isn't that so pretty? I really love these florals, but today we're going to be using this one, and I do also love, I love blue, so how can I go past that? So I've got 2 banner dies here. I've also got a piece of Night of Navy, which is a piece of A4, and I've cut that not quite in half this time around. This piece here I've actually cut at 11 centimetres in width, because I've got 2 dies here, one slightly bigger than the other, and this die is actually 10.5 centimetres in width. I just wanted to give myself a little bit of clearance around it. So I have cut that a little bit bigger, and I will be cutting it down to 10.5 in width. But to be able to make sure I've got a card here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move my banner up, my die up, I should say. If I flip this over, you can see I'm just taking the top of my folded card just a little bit past the cutting edge of the die. So what we're going to do first off is actually cut this piece here. So I'm not quite sure whether I said it before, but this is a piece of Night of Navy, and I have cut it at 11 centimetres by 29.9 and scored it at 14.9. It is going to be a little bit shorter. Let me grab my plates. And I've got one plate just sitting here. There we go. So I need my Post-it notes because I don't want this to move, and I'm going to adhere this in place. So as I said, I've got my piece of cardstock. I fold it in half, and I'm going to pop this on here with that edge just underneath that cutting edge. So let me just sit this flat here and line this up. And I want it just underneath. And I'm giving myself a little bit of clearance either side. And I'm just going to adhere that to there like that. Whoops, it's moved a bit. And I'm just going to tuck that under. So that is just sitting on that cut edge. I'm going to pop another piece on there because I really don't want that to move. And it's probably just about 1/2 mil below that cutting edge of the die. Okay, so I'm going to pop that in there. Pop our top on top and cross our fingers, and hopefully I've got everything sitting nicely and this will cut well. So we're just going to, whoops, take that out again a bit. I'm going to pop this in slightly at an angle. Because I don't want that die to be misshapen in any way. So I'm just putting it at a very slight angle in there. And we're just going to run that through. Hello, Leslie. How are you? Thank you for joining us today. So this card is going to be a little bit shorter than a normal card or standard card for us here in Australia, but that's okay. Pop that to one side. And let's hope, fingers crossed, this is all cut well. So these pieces should just come straight off. Whoops. And there we are. There's our card. And I've got that fold right there nicely. Okay, so just remember, always place your cardstock below that fold. The other way you could do it is, of course, only do a partial die cut, but the problem with that is you're going to have to somehow trim that up with your trimmer. This way, just by placing it directly underneath that cut line, just that sort of little bit of a mil off it, then that won't cut for you. Okay, so there's our first piece that we're going to cut, and I'll get rid of my rubbish there. And now I'm going to bring in my piece of designer series paper, which is 10 by, sorry, I think I said before this is 10 here, 10.5. So I cut my cardstock at 11 width to take in a 10.5 width die. This die here is at 10, and again I'm going to use my post-it note tape just to hold it down because it is really just in the size we want. And let's just bring out my die cutting machine again. Hello, Anita. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Deborah. How are you? Let's pop our plate on top of this. Again, I just want to pop this in just slightly at an angle. It just helps with the cutting. And we're just going to cut this as well. Now, this is just the next size down in the dies because I just want a little bit of a difference in sizing. I am really loving this particular suite. I think it is just, it's gorgeous. So let's just take all that off. There's our die and our piece that we don't require anymore. And there's our die cut piece there. So I have already cut a piece of basic white for our card insert, and I've cut it the same size as the designer series paper for the front of it. So this piece here, I'm just going to adhere onto the front there, and it's just that little bit smaller than our actual card. So I've just got some adhesive here, and I'm just going to pop. It's a shame to stick this pretty side down, but anyway, we'll have to do it. Oops, we want to stick it on the front, not on the inside. So I'm just allowing, it's probably about 0.5 centimetre all the way around. By using the multi-purpose glue, I've got a little bit of slip here just to get that nicely positioned where I want it, and I'm happy with that. So actually, while we're doing this, we'll actually glue this piece in as well. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to decorate this piece, but we'll work that one out later. And this one here is just going to go right in there, and I've managed to get a little bit of glue there where I didn't want it. Take that away. And that's going to go just there. So there's our card base already done. Okay, so how's everybody coping with the cold? Now this Charming Day suite has this beautiful stamp set, and in it comes these lovely dies. So this is a die here. It's a standalone die, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut out this die image and then do some colouring on it. So it's a similar image to this one. It is different, so don't think that these two are exactly the same. This one here has only got 2 flowers in it. This one has actually got 3 and some other little flowers around it as well. So we're going to die cut that, and while we're die cutting that, I'm not quite sure yet whether I'm going to be using it or not, but I want to die cut some of these standalone leaves as well. There's another one here as well. So, and I'm thinking at the moment of die cutting those in Night of Navy. Did I leave some Night of Navy cardstock lying around? I'm sure I did. Yes, I did, over here. So I'm going to give it a go in Night of Navy and see how it looks. It might be a little bit too dark, but we'll give it a try. I also have here a circle that I cut with my stylish shapes. So I've got that ready to go, and we're going to also stamp a sentiment. The other thing that I have done is I've taken this braid and I've pulled out 3 strips. Now this is what I started with last week. I've cut that around about 24 centimetres. I pulled out 3 pieces and I've tied a bow with those 3 pieces all together. So it's just giving me that big, very full, untidy looking bow, which I just love. Okay. So let's start die cutting these, and I'm going to pull out my mini die cut for these ones. Just makes it a lot easier. And we need some plates, and I'm just going to cut this in some basic white. Now, of course, you can use any scraps of basic white cardstock you have, but I'm using a piece here which is 10.5 by 7.5. And we're going to give that a trim down, move that over to there, very gently lift that, and I'll come back to that in a moment. And the other piece that I want to grab is this, and I'm also going to cut this into some workable strips. I've got a piece here. Now this piece here is because this is off the A4 cardstock, and I cut the made part for my card base at 11. So this piece here is would only be about 10 centimetres in width. So it's too narrow for a card, or unless you want to do a narrower card. So I'm just using this up to cut some of the leaves that I might want to use on my card front. So on that 10 centimetre by 7 centimetre piece, I'm going to cut just one of each leaf. And this is where I wish sometimes we still had vellum. But we're going to give this a go and see how it looks. You can always change it to a basic white or to another colour if need be. I haven't played to see how this is going to look until now, so it's all trial and error, which is what I love about doing card making, is that sometimes you just have to give it a go and see how it works. So we've got that piece and we've got this, and I'm just going to give that a bit of a wriggle out. Make sure it's all cut all the way through, because this is a very delicate die cut. I don't want to rip any of this. So we've got that piece there. Just get rid of that. And my take a pick tool is somewhere here on my table, I am sure. Let's just have a look, see if I've got, no, it's not. It's where it should be. I put it away. Oh, good. So how's everybody enjoying the weather? Coping with the cold that we've had? We had a bit of sleet here the other day. It was exciting. I haven't had snow here for so long, and I keep wishing it'd snow, make the cold all worthwhile. Okay, just put those away for a moment, and let's bring in this piece here, and I've got a scrap of paper here. And now what I have got is I'm going to pop those over to one side. I have got my petal pink. I have got Flirty Flamingo, and I have got Old Olive. And we're going to colour these up with some blending brushes. Now, these little brushes I have here have got a very small head on it. They are ones that I bought a long time ago. They're just a makeup brush, but I want to use that small head to get into some of these areas. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to remove the backing off here and all these little bits and pieces. I could just colour that straight through that, but I want to remove that. And I want to remove all of these other little pieces, because when I colour these, the ink will actually get caught on those cut edges, which will give a little bit of a darker tinge to the cut edges. And I'm really wanting to try to utilise that. I mean, I want it to have it blending nice, but this, what I'm going to do today, isn't accurate in colouring. It's really just getting some colour onto here. Don't mind if there's a bit of white space. All I'm trying to do is just give a hint of colour to this. So I'm going to start with my petal pink, and I'm going to colour each of the flowers. Now, having a brush with a small head means that I can get into there in smaller areas. So I'm just going to pick up a bit of colour, tap a bit off, and I'm going to start in the centre of these and just brush outwards. I want to have the centres a little bit darker, but I want it to go right to those edges, because as I said before, I do want to just pick up some of that colour around those cut edges. I don't know whether you can see it. I am going to put another colour on there as well, but around these edges here, it's just picked up a little bit more colour, especially on the tips here. So you've sort of got a whiteness, and then you've got this little bit of colour on the very tips. You hate the cold, Deborah. I don't mind the cold as long as it's good cold, like snowing cold. At least with cold, you can put more clothes on. When it's summer and it gets really hot, there's only so much you can take off. That's my theory anyway. So anyway, I'm just going to keep colouring each of these flowers, and I'm just going from the centre out, trying to keep the edges of the petals lightish, but trying to pick up some of that colour onto the tips. Then this one here, to me it looks like it's got like a flower edge here, but this part in the inner part of the flower could be a bit of foliage or the base of the flower. So I'm just going to start from the outside and run it in. And then we've got these little flowers here on the ends of these leaves. So I'm just going to do the tips of those. Then we've got this one here. You could put a bit of tape, masking paper or something over the leaves if you don't want to get colour on the leaves, but I'm not really worrying about that at the moment. Just going to lift that a little bit out of the road. Now for the moment, that's enough of that one. You can always come back and add a bit more. Now I've got our Stampin' Up small blending brush here, and I'm just going to hit the inner part of these flowers with a bit of Flirty Flamingo. But again, I'm just going to tap a bit off. This is slightly pinker, but I just wanted a little bit more of a difference in colour in the centres. And just on that edge there a little bit. And just tap a little bit onto these little flowers here. Just taking care that I'm not getting the leaves, and I'm just putting a little bit more of that pink toning into there. So I'm just going to use two colours there just to give that a little bit of a variant in colour. Now I've got the old olive, and I've got a small brush again. Now just remember, you don't need much colour. You can come back and add more, but you can't take it away. So start light and work up. Now I'm going to start at where my petals, where my leaves all bunch together, and work out, and then work out from there. So now I'm going to go back in and just add a little bit more colour just around the top part of each of those, and even pounce it a little bit just to get a little bit more texture in just certain areas. I'm not colouring the whole leaf. I'm just putting a bit extra colour just in certain areas by just pouncing my brush into those areas. And I'm going to do the same of each one of these leaves. So I'm going to start from where they centre and then just lightly brush it out. If you get a little bit of the pink colouring on your leaves, don't worry about it too much, because in nature sometimes our leaves have a little bit of pinks and reds in them. They're not always just one colour. And then with this one here, just be very careful of that little flower then on the end. And this one I didn't wipe off my brush as well as what I'd like. that's okay. We're just going to see if we can blend that out. Just see if we can put a little bit more colour onto those leaves, just to blend all of that together. Just going to put a little bit more green into each one of these. And that I'm quite happy with. So let me just close this up. Totally agree. Heat is horrid. Anything above 22 to 23. Eek. Oh, you don't like heat at all, Felicity. I mean, I grew up where it was could be very hot in summer in the Riverina, and in winter it can be very cold. So I've got a bit of variety. So I'm popping that onto a white background so you can actually see that. I'm just hoping I can get that right up. So we've got a little bit of a variance in colour on there, just using those brushes. Of course, you could also use your daubers as well to get a similar effect. Just make sure you start off very, very light and then add in colour. And I've just realised I haven't added any green into that one there. So I do want to come back in with that green and just add a little bit more in that section. So let me just show you that again. So I've just added a bit of green into there as well. Now, of course, you could also colour that with your blends. You could even just put some colour onto a piece of basic white cardstock and then put your dye over the top and cut it out and see what you come up with. Lots of things that I thought of we could do with this when I was planning this out. So let's bring in our card base, our circle, our flowers. And the other thing I wanted to do is I just wanted to give this a little bit of more depth in texture. Now I've got here my Calypso Coral in light, and I know I've got to replace this because my nib has gone all funny. So I'm going to, I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm just going to do a bit of a flick on here. You just got to be very careful with this sort of thing. If you've got an old nib brush, it's good for flicking. It does damage the nibs of your brushes, so just be very careful doing that and be aware of it. Make sure it's one that you are going to want to replace. So I've just thrown some, let me bring this in again so you can see under the white. I've just given a few little flicks there with some of the alcohol blend all over that as well, just a little bit of point of difference. Okay, so going to have that into there. This is my idea so far, is that's going to go across there something like that. And we have got the Night of Navy leaves. Now they could be coming, because I really wanted them not necessarily be stark white. That's why I sort of decided to go away from the white, but I wanted, and they're going to come from underneath there. So that's what I'm thinking. And then we need to add the sentiment. So it's sort of got a little bit of, it tones in a little bit with the back. As I said, vellum would have worked really well, given it a bit more lacy effect, but I quite like that. Now I've got another piece of basic white cardstock here, and I have got the happy birthday stamp that comes in the stamp set, and I've got Night of Navy ink. Thank you, Deborah. So I'm just going to ink this up, and we're going to fussy cut this. So I'll pop that over the top. Just hold that down for a few seconds just to make sure that ink is adhered. Beautiful. Now, if you're not sure on fussy cutting, what you can do is grab yourself a pencil and just go around it very, very lightly, just tapping where you want that to go, where you're sort of thinking of cutting. I'm just going to go around there like that. Thinking of cutting the happy birthday into 2 words. I'm not 100% certain yet because I've only got a very limited area in there. Yeah, I think we can do that into 2. So I'm just going to go round, just dotting really. I'm not even drawing. And I'm giving myself a little bit of a clearance, and that means that if I want to, I can cut it a little bit closer. Just gives me a bit of an idea. So let me just grab my scissors, and I'm just going to cut some of this excess away because we don't need all that cardstock there. Now, just remember, when you do fussy cutting, what you're doing is you're moving your paper, not your scissors. And I am just cutting on the inside of that line that I have drawn. And it's really just there as a guide to sort of say, okay, well, that's around about. I don't really want to go any further away from my lettering than that, but it's also giving me a little bit of room to go a little bit closer as well. I'm just going to take that all the way down there. So there's my birthday separated. Now, of course, I could have stamped this twice and then cut birthday from one and happy from the other. And the other way I like to cut sometimes titles out, fussy cut them out, is with using a craft knife. And I have a glass mat specifically for that because I find that these glass mats here will scratch because they are tempered glass, so they've got a coating on them. So I have actually got an old piece of glass from a photo frame that I've taped up all the edges so I don't cut myself. And I use that when I am using a craft knife to cut. Takes a little practice using a craft knife, but you do get really nice cuts from it. And working on the glass means that the knife actually slips on the glass. It's not going to, unlike a self-healing mat, the knife can get embedded in the mat a little bit, which means then it's not sliding as nicely, and the paper will also slide on a glass mat. So you've got a nice slip to hold because the same sort of thing. You hold your knife straight and you turn your paper. So the same as using a pair of snips, but doing the other way. I'm just going to come in and just sort of go a little bit more in and out on this. Just a little bit too flat along the top. So there's my happy birthday. And I'm sort of thinking that these can go more like probably more in there like that, rather than having one word going right across. But I'm going to see how it looks, And let's put all this together and see what we come up with. Okay, so the first things I want to do is probably glue these pieces down. And normally what I would do is just pop some dimensionals under here, but I think I know pretty much where these are going to go. So I'm just going to pop some glue on the back of this. Doesn't matter if it oozes out a little bit because it is going to get hidden by that circle. We want one there. One there. Now I still have this bow to pop on, and I'm going to pop some dimensionals onto here. So let's pop a few of these. Whoops, that just got moved. I just want to bring that back down a bit. Pop about 4 dimensionals onto this piece. Now I've yet to decide how I'm going to decorate the inside of my card, so that about there. And this piece we're going to glue straight on the top. So I'm just going to dot some glue around here. Now just be very careful because there are little slits in this die. So if you put too much glue on the back of this, it will ooze out through those little slits. So I'm just dotting some glue around. And we're going to pop that about there. Now we can always come back in and add a bit more glue if you want to, and I might do that in a minute, but I just wanted to hear everything else down first. So we've got our happy is going to go about there. Our birthday is going to go probably about there. You make sure I've got this straight so I can work out where I'm going to pop. I think that might go about there. So let's just pop that up on some mini dimensionals. So I'm going to do birthday first. Just put a couple of these on the back. And happy. Okay. Need a glue dot. Just want to tuck that a little bit underneath there. And the other thing I want to pop onto here, we've got the, these are the Charming Shimmer faceted dots that come with the suite. And this time I'm going to add the petal pink. Or do I want to go the Night of Navy? Really do like the Night of Navy. I used the Night of Navy last time as well. I think I am going to go Night of Navy. I really like the contrast. Okay, so it is, I might pop one up there. It's a large one. And maybe a small one there, and then another small one. Just want to put just a couple. Maybe one there. Okay, I'm going to just move these a little bit if I can. Whoops. No, I think he's going to stay exactly where he is. He's decided he's not moving. Yeah, I think that's enough. Now the inside, just wondering what we can put on the inside there. Let's have a quick look at what other dies are in here. Of course, we could stamp, just do something very, very basic, which would be to stamp this image here, which is the smaller of the floral images. Whoops. Sometimes these just stick that little bit well into the case. Might be a little bit big for what I'm thinking there. Let's have a look at these dies, because there is just a single flower die. I might do that one. And okay, I think we might do that. So we've got just one flower. Or the other thing would be, let me just have a look at this, because this is a slightly different style of flower to these. You know what? I'm going to cut another one of these. Let me grab some more basic white cardstock. Just need this little piece here. I'm not going to cut the whole lot. I just want to cut so that will fit in nearly everything. Okay. So I'm just going to cut another one of these, but I'm going to trim it down. So I just like the style of these flowers. The other one's a nice little flower as well, but it just is a slightly different style. So what I want to do is now there's two different ones I could use here. So let's just have a look. Going to snip around that one, that leaf, and I'm going to snip. I'm just going to cut these in half. I'll reshape them in a minute. So this one here I've just cut. I'm just going to take a little bit of that sharpness off those edges there. So we could use that flower, or we could use one slightly a bit bigger. At the moment I'm thinking of just going the smaller one because I don't really want anything that's too big there. Anything like this, just keep your little bits and pieces. Like, you know, that if I use this piece, I'll just keep that for something else. Let's bring this in again and let's just have a quick look. I am thinking that this one here is probably going to be, because I want it to go just in that area there. Yeah, I think that one there is going to be perfect. This one here, it's good, but it's just a little bit too big. So let's just grab our piece of scrap paper. And our inks again, and we're just going to just repeat this very quickly. Oops, just make sure you hold that because that's only just held on by one little piece there. So that petal is quite, the leaves are just attached by one little bit. So you just want to make sure you've got those held down securely. And I'm just going to add now, because the background we've used is just a Night of Navy Designer Series paper, you could have coloured in your flowers any colour that you want. You know, could have had these in yellow or any other colour. Oops, I'll just probably put a little bit too much green onto that. So now my flower's got a bit of green in it. So let's just come back in and see if we can blend that out a little bit with a bit of the actually what I might do is I'll use this brush here, slightly smaller, and I just want to get in there and just blend that green a little bit in. Not as noticeable now. So I've got a little bit of the green ink onto my flower petal. Went in a little bit too quick. But I've just put a little bit more pink into there, and that's just blended that out nicely. I'm quite happy with that. So let's just remove all of these. Bring our card back in. Again, just tapping a little bit of ink glue on here, not too much. Probably just a little bit more than I need in some areas. So I'm just going to wipe some of it off with a bit of a scrap piece of cardstock and just move that glue around a little bit, just so that I don't have any oozing out. Nothing worse than a card you can't open because the glue has oozed a bit. Pop that on there. And I'm just going to leave that as that. And there's our card. All finished. Now I could have added some splatters on there if I wanted to as well. But there we go. Let's see if I can get this good so you can see those colours. I'm not quite sure where that camera is picking them up overly well. And then the inside of our card is just like that. So I wanted something really soft and delicate, but quite simple to do using the dies. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Now remember, this particular bundle isn't available until next month, which is only a couple of days away. Today's the 27th, so there's only about 3 more days and you can purchase this. Hello, Roseanne. It's lovely to see you on here. So I hope you've enjoyed that fun card. And there's another use of, because I know myself personally, I'll probably be never making banners as such as ones I'd be hanging up somewhere. But I thought, well, how else? I mean, I really love these dies for the banners, and how else can you use them? Well, you can use them to make a card front. So there you are. So there's another use of your dies and another way of colouring your dies in as well. So thank you very much for joining me today. I will be back next Friday, and we'll create another card and possibly using another suite again. So take care, have a lovely weekend, and thank you very much for joining us. Thanks, Lynn, for joining. I'm glad you liked the card. Bye now.